Yeah. Democrats, they have another sex creep problem. Have you seen this guy, Graham Platner, up in Maine? He's their big hope to take the Senate, the Democrats. But Graham Platner, he's a lot. What I do know is he served his country in the Marines, in war, and you can never discount how big that is. But then there's the sexting while married, scary behavior, so say some of his exes, old posts about how he's a communist, and all cops are bastards, and black people don't tip.
Candidates have baggage. He's just baggage that just happens to be a candidate, honestly.
He makes Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez look like Aunt Bee.
Do you think that somebody who has a Nazi tattoo on their chest should serve in the United States Senate?
Trust me, I have never seen Democrats unite this fast to completely dismantle one person. And this time, almost nobody seems willing to defend him. Bill Maher came in with facts and completely destroyed leftist Graham Platner after he thought he was ready to run for Senate. And trust me, this is one of the most satisfying breakdowns I have brought you. So hit that like and subscribe button, and let's get straight into it.
Well, let's get real about Graham Platner. If you've been sleeping on politics lately, well, who can blame you? But the big story is the Democrats can likely take back the Senate in November if they win Maine. But their local candidate official now up there is, after the primary this week, let's just say a guy who has a backstory that screams, "Don't ask." Now, I don't judge Graham Platner because I'm just learning who he is. Problem is, so is he. What I do know is he served his country in the Marines, in war, and you can never discount how big that is. But then there's the sexting while married, scary behavior, so say some of his exes, old posts about how he's a communist, and all cops are bastards, and black people don't tip. Well, they don't tip cops, I can understand that. Here's a typical Platner quote. He said about the Iraq War, "You can think it's dumb and also kind of not want to miss it." Oh, Graham, I feel the same way about so many things. The Oscars, Christmas, Taylor Swift's wedding, that little speech Nicole Kidman gives before the movie comes on where she looks insane. And then, of course, there's the Nazi tattoo on his chest. I mean, seriously, this guy's whole life is the movie The Hangover. He doesn't need a term in the Senate, he needs a gap year in Costa Rica.
And what is crazy is that a lot of people still think the biggest problem is his tattoo, his character, or his crazy past. But that is not even the real issue. And trust me, what comes next is even worse.
I wish the tattoo was the scariest thing about Platner. It's not. That would be his solution to a home invasion, which is to rape the home invader. And no, of course, that's not policy he's proposing. It's a fantasy his ex says he talked about. Next week it'll be policy. And to be fair, he said the raping wasn't something he'd do in a gay way, because that would be weird.
And I also hate how Bill Maher can just throw the truth right in your face and move on like it was nothing. Because the left spent years calling Republicans Nazis, extremists, and dangerous people. But now some of those same people are preparing to support Graham Platner like none of that standard ever mattered. That is what makes this so crazy to me. They scream about morality when it helps them attack the right. But the second someone on their own side has a problem, suddenly they want everyone to look away and move on.
You know, who can look at progressive atheistic culture and say, like, for example, if you believe that Jesus is the Son of God, rose from the dead on the third day, there are a lot of progressives who will say, you're a crazy person, you believe in superstitions. And those same people will tell you that if a grown man takes some hormonal therapies that Big Pharma told them to take, that person will become a woman. It's like, actually, you believe something that's far crazier and clearly a violation of nature. Mm-hmm. And I think that there is this deep sense of purpose and meaning that everybody's seeking. And I think what's great, I mean, obviously I'm a Christian, so I'm going to say this, but what's great about Christianity is it's a healthy way to find meaning. But if you try to find all of your meaning in politics, or you try to find all of your meaning in worldly things, I think it has a very distorting effect. And again, that's like part of how I found my way back to faith. Because I was an atheist, I thought I was better than everybody, and I realized, you know what? This is actually not making me a very good person.
Or a happy person.
And what is crazy is that the left never answers these things straight, because they already know the consequences. They know if they admit the truth, their whole moral argument falls apart. So instead, they dodge, spin, and pretend the problem is not there. But John Fetterman did not play that game. When he was asked about Graham Platner, he said it straight to his face.
Let me ask you about what he has said about you. This is what he said about you at a recent town hall. I want to give you the opportunity to respond. He says, I get a lot of criticisms. I get a lot of criticisms about the way this government functions, but in order for us to make it functional, we're going to have to do stuff. And you can't just go down there and be John Fetterman and just sort of be, and he uses an expletive. What's your response to that criticism, Senator?
Oh, I'm devastated. I'm devastated. Like the guy that, the tough guy that roughs up, ex-girlfriends and the guy with the Nazi tattoo and all those things. So for me, I'll take everything he says as a badge of honor. And he's going to find out, once, if he does win, he's going to find out he's going to be 100 out of 100. And now, you're not going to drag Jeff Bezos in. You're not going to, he was bragging, I'm going to get arrested. Go ahead, go be a dick and go get arrested. They'll love it. They'll love it, here in the Senate now. So that's here we are. And, I'll be the Democrat to call it what it is.
And thank God, John Fetterman seems to be one of the only people on the left with enough common sense to say this out loud.
The fact that this is an individual, how he's lived his life, I don't think that's authentic. I think overall, this is someone that's, I know candidates have baggage. He's just baggage that just happens to be a candidate, honestly.
It's so true. But he says he went through a dark period in his life, Senator.
Yeah, of course. People, I've had a rough time in my life, but I never joined on Kick and sent, dick pics to random people. And a program, they have significant problems where many of the people there are underage. And that, just anyone can look up the kinds of people that are on Kick. He spent there for 10 years, and that was actually an active account just up to earlier this week.
Yeah, if your wife catches you doing that, you probably delete the account. You don't keep it active. That's usually...
he's only...
right. He's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, P. Hustle has only admitted to anything that he's been caught doing, or women have claimed that he's done those things. So, that's just the fact. He's ever going to admit to until the next shoe drops.
And that is how you speak when you actually care about America and worry about where the country is heading. That was not about party loyalty. That was about common sense, honesty, and saying the truth, even when your own side does not want to hear it. And I also brought another clip that proves this point even more.
When you've shown me you have so much hate in your heart that you can literally wipe off full groups of people, and you name it, fill in the blank he has, that Nazi tattoo that he supposedly has covered up and said he didn't know what it meant, but many ex-girlfriends said he used to proudly call it what it is, a totem cough, which is a Nazi symbol. Yeah. He has shown us who he is. There is no way in my life I could sleep at night turning my face to all of that. And I don't know who can. I wish some of the Democrats would stand up. This was the party of Me Too. Women have made accusations. They have not been proven yet, but weren't we supposed to listen and hear them? Literally, we were in a time of anti-Semitism, the numbers of anti-Semitic hate, and this guy proudly wore a tattoo for years. All the things he's shown us, and we're going to say, well, this time, because we might agree with his policy, we can turn our heads. I cannot turn my head. I hope other people would join me in that.
What is crazy is that Democrats are desperately trying to take back the Senate, but they do not even have a proper leader ready to carry that responsibility. And that is why I want to call this whole situation garbage in, garbage out. Because when a party keeps promoting weak candidates, broken ideas, and empty slogans, you cannot be shocked when the result is chaos, embarrassment, and leadership that nobody can trust.
There's going to be more bad tweets from candidates that haven't aged well, more bad tattoos. Did Platner know the tattoo was a Nazi symbol when he got it? Maybe. But people today are so inundated with misinformation and internet bullshit, I wouldn't trust he knew what it stood for anyway. Everything people know now is from social media and shit posting and whatever some other idiot sends them, or whatever the Chinese are feeding them on TikTok. Every single violent actor in the last 5 years, from Trump's assassin to Luigi, has prompted a headline that said some version of, "Experts find markers of both right and left-wing political views." Yeah, because we have a new breed of voter today, people who are intensely political, but somehow know almost nothing about politics. Liberal, conservative, they don't know what makes you either one. Conspiracy theories, that they know. And memes, and trolling that also might be true. Maureen Galindo is a Democrat who ran for the House in Texas this year. Describes herself as a judgment-free sex therapist. I hope so. Who wants a judgy one?
And this is exactly what I mean. This is the best the Democrats can produce right now. But what shocks me is that instead of letting people use common sense and decide what is actually best for America, they only care about one thing: making sure any Democrat wins the election and takes back the House. It does not matter if the candidate is weak. It does not matter if the ideas are broken. It does not matter if the person is not ready to lead. As long as there is a D next to the name, they expect people to ignore everything else and vote anyway.
I find that a bit ironic. For a long time now, Democrats have long argued that what fueled their passions against Trump was a sense of righteous indignation. They were standing up for justice. They were upholding morality that they said Trump was an affront to. And now what we all realize is that that was all a facade. You have this guy who's saying he's going to make a speech to make a draw a contrast against himself and Susan Collins. He stands up for women. She does not, because she voted for Brett Kavanaugh. Yet we just had, not more than a week ago, very serious allegations against this very same guy who's now the defender of women. So to me, it seems like maybe a defender of women for my Democratic friends when it's convenient for them. But now that there's a political electoral opportunity to maintain their majority in the Senate, and Graham Platner could outseat Susan Collins, you know what? It doesn't necessarily matter the 10 plus years of arguments we've made about morals and ethics against Trump and Republicans who've empowered Trump, because we can win a seat. It's very Machiavellian in many ways. And to me, any argument that Democrats have framed against Trump, against Republicans, is now null and void. They have revealed themselves to be nothing but hypocrites, nothing but liars. And I think as we get into the general election, you're going to see the case made by Susan Collins, made by the NRSC, that Democrats are not the people that they said that they are. Look at who they're supporting, the guy with the Nazi tattoo.
That is exactly what I agree with, because you do not keep choosing trash just because it has been sitting there for a while. And honestly, Democrats have given up every principle they claim to stand for just to promote Graham Platner. That alone proves they have no real principles and no moral high ground. They spent years lecturing everyone else about character, decency, and accountability. But the moment it is their own candidate, suddenly all those standards disappear. And this was their answer.
Does Graham Platner have the character to be a U.S. Senator, Leader Jeffries?
Listen, the voters of Maine are ultimately going to be the ones to decide what's in the best interest of the people of Maine. At this period of time, I'm just focused on making sure we take back control of the House of Representatives.
Do you believe Graham Platner has the character to serve in the United States Senate?
I think that the voters of Maine have an opportunity to see who they want to represent them in the United States Senate. They will decide that.
You know, you are considered a leader within the Democratic Party. Do you plan to campaign for Graham Platner, Senator?
I intend to focus on the people of Georgia.
And for anyone who still thinks these people actually care about you, they do not. They do not care about women. They do not care about minorities. They do not care about whoever they decide is the victim of the day. And they definitely do not care about democracy the way they pretend to. What they care about is power. Everyone else is just a tool for the machine. They use people's pain, identity, and struggle when it helps them win, and then throw those same people away when they are no longer useful.
someone has to explain the American economy to me. I know I've said this before. I still don't get it. Last week was tax day, and as usual, because HBO is so generous, and I'm sure so will be the new owners, I paid to the government, if you add in state tax, local, sales, property, fees, Obamacare, probably almost 60% of what I earn. That's a lot, and I still wouldn't mind if Bernie Sanders would stop saying the rich don't pay taxes. And while I'm sure the super rich with their army of accountants and corporate loopholes get away with murder, us regular rich people pay a shit ton of taxes. And who stands up and gives us a pat on the back? Nobody, that's who. The top 10% pay 72% of all federal income taxes, and the bottom half, 3%. The Democratic Socialists talk about socialism like we don't already have a lot. Social Security, unemployment, Medicare, nutritional assistance, Medicaid, Obamacare, disability, housing subsidies. Again, not against it, just the same question. How can you be soaking the rich and failing the poor so badly? How can it be that the federal government alone took in over $5 trillion in taxes last year, and we still need that? Are we really this incompetent and corrupt? Don't answer that. But here's the truth. You're not going to get health care to these people by threatening to tax and eat the rich. You raise billionaires' taxes, they just leave the state. Or they leave the country. Or in some cases, the planet.
I saw a clip somewhere that you were trying to get the officer who murdered George Floyd pardoned, and I just want to know what your reasoning was about that.
Well, George Floyd didn't die because of the police officer. He died largely because of a drug overdose.
But he had his knee on his neck. And we all saw the video.
But the knee on the neck is actually an approved police technique that police departments taught Derek Chauvin to use. Do you know that George Floyd was saying, "I couldn't breathe," well before that restraining technique? And
so why'd they use the technique if he already couldn't breathe?
Well, because he was actually resisting arrest, and they had to restrain him. And they restrained him in a way that they were taught to do, which is the knee on the neck technique.
Okay, so when does the technique end? Like when they die? Like he said he couldn't.
No, I mean the technique ends when the individual stops resisting arrest. His cause of death was not asphyxiation; it was drug overdose. He had
that was a part of it. Like he also had a heart thing, and he was on drugs. But he wouldn't have just died if he was standing there. Like they had his.
Well,
their
actually,
knee on
there's an
neck.
argument to be made. According to the medical examiner, he was drug overdosing in real time. That it wasn't because of the police officer, Derek Chauvin, that put his knee on the neck. And they were taught to do that. According to the Hennepin County Police Department, they teach that as an approved restraint technique. And by the way, this is just a broader point. Our whole country blew up because of this incident, and it was largely based on a lie. Largely based on a lie. We were all
What was the lie?
The lie is that there was a white police officer that went after a black person just because he was black, and it just wasn't true. He was resisting arrest.
Okay, but he killed him. That doesn't.
Well, again, the county medical examiner disagrees. The county medical examiner in the original report.
So then why did he get sentenced?
Exactly. That's a good
No,
question.
I'm saying
it's because it was largely a show trial where actually they were not allowed to submit
what
evidence.
trial?
A show trial. A show trial is an example where you put people on display or a show for a political purpose or political means. And this is an example of that, where Derek Chauvin was not given a fair hearing in this trial. He was not even allowed to use the police training handbook in his trial to show that he was taught to use that restraining technique.
Okay, so what do you want to happen to Derek Chauvin?
Pardon.
So he's just free? What is that?
Yes.
What message does that send to
It should be. It's a message that you should get an actual fair trial and that you're not going to get a trial by media.
And with everything I said, people really need to look in the mirror and ask themselves what they actually want and what these politicians are trying to sell them. Because every time the left tries to convince you of something, they change the direction, twist your words, and somehow make you feel guilty for questioning them. But before I end this video, I want you to watch one more clip. This is what a man with common sense sounds like. Thank you for watching, and let me know what you think about this video in the comments.